everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and I have a beautiful message for you today on the power of non-judgment, releasing judgment, and the power of discernment, which I think is extra important these days. Now, the main thoughts that I was having as I was journaling this week, and I wrote these down about judgment, is learning and not judging and being okay with other people's journey, okay? Even if it's your kids, your siblings, your parents, especially, so our families, right? Our own kids, and in my case, my grown kids. And I don't get to judge the way they live their life, and they don't get to judge me. Now, here's the thing. We find ourselves judging even the little things. And I think for the most part, most of us, because we're nice people, we're kind people, most of the time we just don't say anything. And for that piece of it, I've been grateful because I have said things in the past that I thought I'm giving advice. I thought I'm trying to help somebody, and they don't want my advice. They don't want my help. It's me being judgy, thinking that I should help them. Now, I'm not talking about if someone comes to you and wants your advice, that this is very, very different. And sometimes as a parent, we can step in and we can use our best discernment and we can parent and give advice, but we have to know where the line is. We have to be able to see, is it being received? Are they receptive? And then realizing that other people's journeys are their own journeys. So here's what else I wrote. It's important to let go of the need to pass or press your beliefs on to others. And this has really come to the forefront for me stronger than I ever thought it would be, as far as what happened at the beginning of 2020. We got through 2020, everybody was in this chaotic state. Then this got released, and 2021 was extra chaotic because there was polarizing views on should you, shouldn't you, please don't, please do. And that was so polarizing. And it's interesting because this week I had a conversation with a very dear friend, and we walked through the last few years on the same wavelength. But I will tell you, she walked through much less judgmental than I did. Now, I was still kind, and I was still, there were only a very small handful of people that I tried to pressure, and I tried to convince them. And I do believe it was out of care. It was out of concern. It was out of really a deep love. And it was considering the deep research that I've been doing for decades on this subject and other things, that you see. And then what you really step out and realize is a couple of things. And this was this conversation I had with this dear friend, is that, and she actually said it the best to me, because I said, oh my gosh, I wish that I would have handled some of the interactions I had with a couple of people especially. I wish I would have handled it differently, because the outcome was the same. The outcome, except for it was just me. And she said to me, no, it's actually, that's how you grow. That's how you realize, that's how you build your character and deepen your character. And she gave me this beautiful pass that really wasn't even a pass, but we have to get through these hard things and hard lessons to get out the other side and really learn them. We can't just have someone say, well, if you respond this way, this is going to happen, and then you'll be all good. I think we have to walk through these deep trenches, sometimes of darkness, a little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of just a lot of sometimes anger and rage and all of these emotions that we need to process. I do believe that it's a part of why we're here. That whole, we came down, we were so excited to come, our soul wanted to come down and experience this body and experience this life. And it's like, we came down here to forget who we are so that we could remember who we are. And, so this conversation with this friend this week was like such a gift, because it was like, yeah, you're right. I had to go through it like that so that I could be in a place. And this is really where I started journaling this part, learning and being okay, and learning to be okay with and not judging other people's journey. It's important to let go of the need to pass or press your beliefs on to others. If they want your advice, they will come to you. You know, and I've got a dear friend, another dear friend. I have some beautiful people in my life. She lives in a different state, and we've known each other probably 9 or 10 years, and we stay in touch. And she's going through some serious she got diagnosed pretty young. She's probably 10 or 12 years younger than me, and she got diagnosed with a pretty gnarly cancer. And it's interesting because she's treating it exactly opposite of what I would do. And what I've found is, because of all the growth I've had these last few years, I don't judge it. It's her own journey. I give her grace. As I've had even come to me for, and that sounds judgmental, right? It's like, you know what I do, and I have people who clamor all the time to get a consultation with me, and I have these really close people who have full access to me, and they're not even interested in anything that I do in the herbal realm with all the protocols and all the stuff. And I will tell you, over these last, probably a couple of decades, especially as I've been going really, this is my full-time thing. I'm a researcher every single day. And the really close people in my life that don't come to me for information or support or any of that, it used to kind of really hurt my feelings. And then I would judge them, and I would think, what is wrong with you? If I'm being really honest. And now this is really actually pretty recent for me, within the last year and a half, I would say, as I really realized that when I tried to force my beliefs and my ideas onto someone else, when they've got different ideas and different paths, when I try to force my stuff on them, it usually ends up poorly. It always ends poorly. And when someone wants even, if someone wants me to help them, I will. It's like if I want to go to someone for help, I will go to them. I really try to put myself in other people's positions a little bit more than I have in the past. And at this point, I can only hope for grace for myself from others, because I don't want the judgment from others. I want to go through this life, and I want to do the best that I can. I want to give love and serve. I want to raise my consciousness. I want to vibrate in a continuous state of higher consciousness, and I want to emanate that. In fact, I went on a really beautiful evening walk this week, and the sun was setting as I was finishing it, and there's this place where I come up over a hill before I go down into my neighborhood. And coming up over this hill, it's the perfect view from where the Salt Lake Valley sits. There's the Wasatch Mountains on one side, and then there's a range of mountains on the other side called the Ochre Mountains. So the sun sets in the west, which is over the Ochre Mountains, and then the sun rises in the east above the Wasatch Mountains. But what happens is, when the sun is going down over the Ochres, so we get these brilliant sunsets, we get this beautiful glow on the mountains on the other side called the Alpine glow. And the mountains, they turn this beautiful glowy pink and sometimes orange. And it's just a reflection of the glow off of the other side. And so I'm coming up from my hike, and I get to this place where it's kind of at a peak before the road dips back down into my neighborhood. But I come up and I have the perfect access. If I turn around, I see the sun setting, and if I turn around the other way, I see the alpenglow on the mountains, and the valley here is so beautiful. And as I was doing this, there was a ton of traffic on this one main road before it goes down. And so there was a lot of going home traffic, and so there was a ton of traffic on this one busy road that I was on as I was going into my neighborhood. But I stood there and I was filled with so much gratitude. And I just stretched my arms out to my side, and I just took a great big deep breath. I took several deep breaths. I just filled my lungs with oxygen, and it was the most beautiful thing. And there was a lot of traffic going by me. I was just right there on the sidewalk. And then I threw my arms up in the air, and I had this huge smile on my face. And you start to go, it really doesn't matter if other people think you're crazy, if you're standing on the side of the road. But here's the thing. I know for a fact that every single person that was in their cars, and when I was actually doing this, there was a stoplight, and the light was red, and there was a huge line of cars, and I was right there, and I was just soaking in this beautiful moment. And this is a reminder of, oh my gosh, this is why we're here. This is why we're here. And I think if we can find these moments, and I will tell you, on that particular night, I think this was Thursday, it was chilly, and I was tired from the day, but I really knew I needed to go on a walk. And my husband kind of had to help me push out the door, because I said, oh, I really want to go for a walk, but it sounds really nice just to, sit on the couch or just sit and, watch. He was starting to make dinner, and, that's how lucky I am. I have a husband who cooks. And he said, go, you'll feel better when you do. And so I put a couple of layers on, and I went out. So to me, living in gratitude, with moments like that, if you grab the moments, they're there. So the more I grow in my own journey, the less attached I am to the journey of others and their outcome. I used to get really attached to the outcomes of people, especially if I believed with everything inside of me that I could have helped it be a different, better outcome. I can send them love. I can pray for them. I can pray for the state of the world. I can pray for the people who are suffering. But it doesn't do the universe, source, our own consciousness, the consciousness that is the collective. It doesn't do it any good if we are vibrating in these lower judgmental frequencies. It doesn't raise the consciousness of the collective, which is, things are shifting. Things are shifting. Okay, so I wrote a little thing down here that I thought I would share with you today. It's called 3 Ways That People Stay Stuck, and then 3 ways to help you get out of staying stuck. So one of the things that human beings do to stay stuck is we focus on the things that we can't control. We want to control them. We want to control everything. And this kind of goes along with the judgment thing. We want to control what's happening in the world of suffering with the wars and the children. And here's what I would say about this. We need to stop watching what's happening. And every time I have a conversation with somebody who is just at the depths of despair and wants the world to be kind and wants the world to be loving, they're watching these things that it's almost like we can't help ourselves as human beings. We slow down to see a car wreck, and sometimes we have to slow down because it's a car wreck. But we'll drive really slow by because that's just our human nature, right? And then what I hear from a lot of people is, well, I can't just put my head in the sand. I have to know what's going on in the world. And here's the thing, you can know what's going on in the world without watching and looking at all of the gory details, all the things. Think about this. You see pictures and videos over and over and over, different things of different people, different children, different violence. You see the suffering, and it's almost like you can't turn away from it. But what does that do? What does that do to your energetic frequency? It keeps you stuck in fear and anger and frustration and despair and sadness. It keeps you stuck in these lower vibrations. And this is something that we do to keep us stuck, is we stay focused on the things that we can't control. We stay focused on what we can't control. So I would say going into this week, make this a priority. For those of you who know who you are talking about this, there are many things that you can't control. And because of technology, because of the modern way where we can get news of what's happening, and we can see live things happening as they're happening, and they're horrific and they're suffering, and there's many more good things happening. There are millions of better things happening than all of the bad things. But the powers that be that want to keep humanity stuck in a place of control for the powers that be, it serves them for us to stay stuck in this lower vibration of focused on the things we can't control. Here's how you can get out of that. Focus on gratitude. Disconnect. Stop watching everything that someone sends you that's sad and horrible, and stop looking at that. Okay, you know what's happening. Okay, it's happening. Stop focusing on it and stay in a place of gratitude. Then your particular individual frequency will raise, and it will raise the collective, okay? Now, the second thing that people focus on that keeps them stuck is they focus on lack. They focus on what they don't have. And this is, again, this is where gratitude comes in. You be grateful. Be grateful for what you do have. And if you really take a look at all the small things, and it can be even as simple as, I'm alive. I am breathing. I have a person in my life who loves me. I have food to eat every day. I have a bed to sleep in. And instead of saying, I have a hard bed, I don't have a very nice pillow, my room is too cold at night, this is staying in a place of lack. Focus on the things that you do have and the gratitude for the things that you do have. So that is the second thing, that one of the three ways that we use as human beings use to keep us stuck. Now, the third thing is we stay focused on things that happened in the past or things that might happen in the future. So we're not living in the present moment. We're stuck thinking, oh, this happened to me, and the person never said they were sorry, or I'm never going to get over this, or, it's like I would say what happened with my knee. I had this horrific water ski accident that years and years later ended up in a full knee replacement. And I could have been extremely angry at the whole thing. And I could have been, too afraid to go do a big knee surgery like that. My brain does tend to think it that way, if I'm being honest. My brain tends to think, I need to do everything I can to stay out of the hospital and out of the doctor's office. But here's the thing. We have modern medical technology, and I know this, and this is why I'm glad that I'm able to get out of my own way in some of these things. Because in trauma care and surgeries like this, they can improve our life and even save our lives. So this is one of those things, is like, I worked through, it was 25 years after I had this water ski accident that's how long it took me. And I did a ton of stuff. I did protein-rich plasma injections, that's called PRP. I did 2 stem cell injections. I did tons of chiropractic adjustments. I did so many natural alternative therapies to try to heal my knee naturally. And when I ended up doing this big knee surgery last year, I wasn't angry about it. I didn't live in the past of, oh my gosh, I wasted so much money on all of these treatments that didn't work. But here's the thing, they did work. I got to spend 25 years between when I had the accident and when I actually had to have the surgery. And I am still extremely active. I'm biking, I'm hiking, I'm going on long walks. I can pretty much do anything I want. So instead of living in the past or thinking what is going to happen in the future, here's what we need to do. We need to be in the present moment, in this real moment where we are. And we need to get out of our own head, because our mind just goes. In fact, I have to sometimes break myself out of a trance. I don't know if you ever do this, but sometimes I'll be, getting dressed in the morning. I'll be putting on my shoes and socks. I'll be sitting on this little bench in my closet, and sometimes I'll start thinking about my day, and I'll literally kind of just become like still, which being still is good if you're in a focused, still place and you're on purpose being still. But sometimes I'm just I go into a bit of a trance where my mind is just racing and it's thinking about all the things I need to do. And I can literally sit there for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes and I accomplished nothing. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be able to sit still, but this was simply my mind was racing and I wasn't being in the present moment. I wasn't sitting. What I really try to do when I catch myself doing that is I try to do some breath work. It's like, okay, I do some stretches. I lay on this bench and I stretch my knees up. I stretch my legs. I do a bunch of stretches on this bench that is it's a padded bench in my closet. And what I really love to do is focus on really aggressive, deep breath work that includes holding at the top, releasing and holding at the bottom, and getting big, full lungs full of oxygen. So I think the things that keep us stuck are the things that we can very easily change if we have the desire to change them. So let me see what else I wrote here. So let's see. Okay, let's talk just for a few minutes about discernment. We're 22 minutes in, so let's just go over this really quick. What I wrote down here is the importance of discernment, and I want to share with you really quickly, and I wrote here the experience with an AI workshop that I went to a couple of weeks ago. So a friend of mine was filming a 3-day workshop of these two men who he flew into his film studio here in Salt Lake to teach a small group of his entrepreneur friends about AI. Now, I will say, AI, if you think about it, can be the thought of it going rogue is very intense. But the thought of it as excitement and the ability to improve and to be a tool to help humanity is very real. And here's the thing, AI is here and AI is not going to go anywhere. So I spent 3 full days with a small group of entrepreneurs. We all had our laptops, we were all learning, and the whole thing was being filmed. So it was very intensive. It was amazing information. The whole room was filled with excitement, mostly too because these two men, these young entrepreneurs who've been really at the forefront of AI for the last probably 10 or 15 years, they believe that AI, it needs to be in the hands of the good guys, right? The people who see the benefits and know that AI has this incredible potential. So there was a lot of things that I saw and I learned about during these 3 days that made me realize now is the time more than ever. And as we move forward, we need to use our best discernment. You can take somebody that is doing something good in the world, and the powers that be don't want this good person to do what they're doing or expose the bad things that are out there, this good person. So they can take an image, the voice, they can make information, and even the person's voice, they can actually take this person and make it sound like he's saying and doing things that he's really not. And I'm telling you, this is the time right now to tune into our intuition. We have to tune into our gut. And we have to say, how does this feel to me? Does this feel real? And I'm going to go back to another situation with a friend I had, a friend of mine this week. We had lunch. She came to pick up some product and we went and had lunch together. And she was talking about a very polarizing figure. And I'm not going to go into who it is or anything, but this is a person who I believe has been exposing a lot of evil and now they're coming down on him because it's exposing a lot of powerful people. And I questioned her I just said, the things that you're saying to me, how do you know they're true? And we just had this really interesting conversation because she'd never thought of it that way. And I think we're easily fooled. I know that we can be easily fooled. So again, this can go back to watching the things that they're throwing at us on what's happening in the world. We can be fooled quite easily. So I'm going to leave this right there. So I'm just going to say that we need to stay in a place of love. We need to stay in a place of non-judgment. We need to use our best discernment. And I think this can be a theme really going forward. Go into this week and catch yourself if you judge someone and question the things that you hear. Question and then disconnect. Stop watching the train wreck. Stop watching the crash on the side of the road. You don't need to see the images from different angles. And, that is a metaphor for getting these images of all of the suffering that's happening in the world. You don't need to see it. You don't need to see it all to know that it's happening, to make the best decisions for who you vote for how you walk through life, for the decisions you make. You don't need to see all the gloom and doom. You don't need to see it. So disconnect from it. Let me know what you think about that. I've gotten some interesting bits of pushback from people who say, no, I need to know what's happening. It's extremely important. And I will say from my point of view, I think it's a bit of an excuse because it's so hard to disconnect. We're so tied into the emotions that we get. We say we only want to see love and peace and beauty. Why do we keep coming back to these things that are so ugly? We know they're happening. It doesn't mean we need to keep seeing them. Anyway, I could obviously go on about that. I would love to know what you think. I hope you have a beautiful week. I hope you can vibrate in love and gratitude and remember your blessings and release judgment of others. So have a beautiful day, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.